Yeah, there are enough of us working on this that a few things just get a little lost. Let's see. Okay, sorry, that was my voice. Okay, so we're live right now. I'm gonna go ahead and put something in the chat that just says we'll get started in 5 minutes, and then I will kind of pop back on and I'll give a little introduction and a welcome, and I'll just keep you updated. Right now there's one person watching, which I think is me, so as we kind of get more folks on there, I'll let you know.
Wonderful. Yep.
I'm gonna go ahead and go dark and then make sure that your picture is the one that we see here.
Okay.
Great.
I think I'll put some music on in the background.
And it looks like the chat function is working. I just put something in the chat to remind folks that we'll be starting in about 3 or 4 minutes.
Sounds good. Can you hear the music or is it distracting?
I can hear it. Yeah, it's not too distracting. It's just a nice background.
Wonderful.
Well, Sarah, it's about 10 o'clock, but I see a few more people kind of slowly trickling in. So maybe we'll wait a few more minutes if that's okay with you. And then I'll pop back in to let you know when to get started.
Sounds good.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I think we can go ahead and get started. We had a few more folks join in on our live stream. So welcome everybody, good morning. My name is Angela Olson. I'm the Studio Programs Associate at MIA, the Minneapolis Institute of Art. Here for another session of our art school virtual sessions with Sara Tucker, who's gonna lead us through some art making and look at a piece of art. I'll be monitoring the chat on the YouTube page, so feel free to put any questions or comments that you have in there, anything you want to share with us. And Sarah, if we have a big influx of people pop in all at once, I'll be sure to let you know so that you can give instructions again or anything that you need to. But yeah, with that said, we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, great. Well, welcome everyone. I'm so honored to be here with you, and I wish we could all be together in one room creating and seeing each other's smiling faces. But this is wonderful that we get to do this, and we've got the light coming in, which I think is so important, and color. So I am an artist. I love to work with found objects and as well as photography. So we are going to do a couple things today. First, we are going to look at an inspirational piece in the Mia collection. And I will show you that artwork. Her name is Lola Petway, and the piece is called Housetop. She's a quilter. She's an African-American quilter. And after that, we're going to dive in ourselves with art materials. And we're really going to be looking at color and the sensory, the textures, and how to create with those and be inspired by those. And I'd love to hear from you what inspires you. You can use the chat box. Where you're from today, I'm also interested in where you're coming from. And yeah, so let's use that chat box. It'd be wonderful to hear from you. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this artist, so Lola, and I'm going to share my screen so I can share the piece with you. Oh, now we've got lots of pieces. Okay, here we go. So this artwork is called Housetop. And so this is by Lola Petway. And so Lola is part of a community in Alabama where they would use a lot of the materials that were around them and creating beautifully colored quilts. And so this one, you can tell that the red is predominant and kind of pops out. There's corduroy involved. I think what I love is the different materials, not just cotton, but all types of materials with this. I do want to share with you a picture of, there we go. There we've got Lola and her mother, Allie, who she was inspired with and was part of a quilting group. And so this, this place in Alabama during slavery time and then after was just a way of the community building together, the community coming together. So I find it such an incredible and powerful expression. I want to show you also just a detail. Let's see if we can bring this up. This is a beautiful detail of some quilting that some of the ladies were working on in this community. And so there's definitely different ways of quilting by hand, by machine, but I wanted to give you just a little taste of this artwork. Also, this community also got to be a part of the US postage stamp. So you'll get to see these quilts. Let me turn down my music here. These quilts on US stamps from the Gee's Bend, Alabama women. And there's a lot of wonderful information and videos that I found through PBS talking about these strong and courageous women that created and were inspired. So it's nice to share some of this inspiration with you. So I took from that the color, the shapes, reading a little bit about the texture of the quilts, and also using the materials that were around. And that's something that I'm interested in, is what kind of materials can we create with that are around us? And so today we're going to create our own kind of quilt, kind of a little bit of, it could be a quilt, it could be a landscape, it could be whatever we would like, but it's going to have all different kinds of colors and textures. And I just want to say too, enjoy the process of creating and less on the final product. And all are welcome in this creating time. And if you find yourself involved with one process and we've moved on to the next, please stay there and enjoy that process. And so I'll walk us through that. First, I want to just put that question out there of what inspires you. I think that's always an interesting question. And I did bring some inspirations that I have. With being wintertime, I need color. So I wore my red today. I've got my color bracelet. One of my favorite paintings in the back, which is a family painting by my husband's grandpa, as well as some flowers. So I want to bring, I'll share my flowers with you. So we need a little bit of color in this winter time. And I just want to ask all of you, when you smell flowers, what kind of smells do you smell? It's that sweet smell, and the colors are just vibrant, kind of just, you can just take a deep breath and it just fills you up for the day. So even though you can't be here and enjoy my flowers, I hope that you can imagine and just take it in and be with me in this moment.
Sarah, sorry to interrupt you, but we had a question from somebody who's wondering if you can show your slides again, if you can show the picture of the artwork again.
Yes, I absolutely can. Thank you for that. All right. I know we can spend so much time with the pieces. They're really incredible. So let me show you the main piece for today. So this one is called Housetop. So, and this is by Lola Petway. And this is the main piece that the Mia has part of their collection. And so I think what I'm struck by this is the red that it starts in the middle, but then it balances itself out by going to the right corner, going to the bottom, going to the left, to the right. And then the little bit of red inside the squares. So we've got that piece. And then I'll show you our artist and her mom. So Lola is the younger woman and Allie is her mom. And so it's passing on the tradition, which I think is so beautiful. Again, when we think of community, when we think of family, when we think of friends, what is it? And this will be a question to throw out there. What are traditions? What are things that you love to share with others or that has been passed down to you? I know sometimes cooking, there's different recipes. I know that creating different forms of art, sometimes stories, playing games. Yeah, let me know what you have in your family, what has been passed down or what have you passed down. I'll show you another slide. I love this detail of the quilts being sewn. This is a beautiful photograph of seeing the details. And if you look closely, you see the white string, but you also, I see a little bit of orange. And it's kind of what is around. You know, what kind of materials do we have around? And sometimes old pillowcases, sometimes, let me see if there's a question here. It's kind of whatever we have around, which makes it so much fun. And let me show you the stamps. I know that we had, let me pull that up. There was one more slide that will show you. Oh, this one I didn't show earlier, but this is to see how big some of these quilts can get. Now this is an artist, part of this community, not the artist that we're talking about, but this is how large some of the quilts are. They're huge, and look how, oh my goodness, they are just so vibrant with the colors and the different shapes. And I'm sure touching it would be really incredible. Now, one last slide I want to show you is the stamps. If we can, it's kind of gotten away here. Oh. I think it's hiding on us. Yeah, can't seem to find that right now. But those are the slides. So please let me know if you'd like to look at those again or if you have any other questions. So I'm going to walk us through so we have enough time to create. Okay. So I did create a piece the other night just to show you an example of what you can do. So I just used the back of a piece of cardboard as a base. And I've got in here, I mean, it could be a quilt or it could be a landscape. And I've used old ribbon and I've used some newspaper. And I actually used, you know how fruit comes in those plastic meshes. So I used some plastic mesh and an old, like the plastic bags that we just don't know what to do with. It could go this way. It could go this way. I'll bring it a little closer so you can see the materials. All right. So I'm going to walk us through just a little bit of this process. So I'm going to start, I'm going to bring this down a little bit. So I have an old piece of cardboard. See, I just cut an old box. Again, whatever you have around, if you have a piece of paper, I even have like a canvas, like just a thin canvas. You can also use that. But I'm going to stick with the cardboard box. It works very well. And we're going to gather up our materials. So the cardboard box, a glue stick works well. Or what I've been using is the glue that pours out. I just put it in a little bowl, and then I usually use a brush to put it on. And I have a stapler because some of the more three-dimensional objects don't really hold on very well with glue. So the stapler will work well. And then a pair of scissors I like to have handy. But if you don't have scissors, this art exercise really lends itself to, or allows itself to, tearing and using those kinds of ways of creating. So I have old sheet notes and magazine, different colors, newspaper. So I am going to walk us through just the tearing process because I think that's the most exciting part of this art making time is the actual tearing. And let me just say that there's no right or wrong. And so I want you to enjoy each step that we do. And again, if you find yourself enjoying one process, stop and just enjoy it. Don't worry about finishing it. And again, if you're just joining us, I'm Sara Tucker, and I'm with the Mia art class today, and we're creating sort of our own quilt slash landscape with colors and different tactile materials. So I'm going to walk us through. I'm going to bring the camera down just a little bit so you can see my materials.
Hi, Sarah. I just wanted to pop in here and let you know that we had a couple of responses in the chat box I wanted to share with you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Sheila shared that nature, especially animals, inspire her. Mm-hmm. And then she also talked about how her mom passed on her love of gardening to her.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, that's so beautiful. And what a treasure to be able to take something and to pass it along and to really love that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no problem. I'll pop in if there are any more responses or questions.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks everyone. It's really great to hear what inspires other people, what has been passed down in our family. So I'm gonna just take a couple of materials. We're gonna build our piece. And I'm gonna actually start with, this is an old dictionary, actually. So this is one that I found at the thrift shop, and I just tore out some pages, and I'm gonna show you a little bit of the tearing process, because I find that is really exciting. So usually when I tear, and it's gonna go kind of zigzag and not quite straight sometimes, and I find that kind of the most exciting because the edges that it shows, and you just follow it along. So I start at the top and I just kind of let it bleed. if it's going to be big or small. And then sometimes it doesn't even go to the end. It kind of cuts off right there. And the thing that I'll show you is, and this one, it has a little bit more of a straight edge, but on some of the other ones, you'll see there's some beautiful marks from the tearing itself. And I can also tear the edge here if I wanted to give it a little bit more depth. And just have fun with it. Again, there's no right or wrong. I've sort of created like a little bit of a landscape there. I'm just gonna put that one down and grab some other materials. And again, a lot of when I'm doing this process, I just do a lot of tearing, finding colors that I like, what pops out at me. When I look at the magazine, well, what pops out at me is the yellow. This one has words. This one has some beautiful like blues and interesting patterns. Just find something that's going to stand out for you and just start tearing. So I really do like this yellow from a magazine. So I'm gonna go ahead and tear, and I'll show you. Just gonna show you this because what I find really cool is this yellow is tearing, but look at the white edges. It's kind of a very beautiful distinction. So I'm gonna go with that and just continue to tear. And if I wanna make it thinner, then I'll just tear and follow it along. All right, there I've got my edge. Look, this looks like one of them has a white edge. Sometimes I'll tear and I'll go, I really actually like the back side. But I like the yellow and the black and white. So I'm gonna put this down. So we have these two so far. I'm gonna grab some other colors. So I do like this blue green with like these hearts on here. It's kind of cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll show you the tearing. You might want to tear this way, you might want to tear this way. And take your time and just kind of play with it, see where it goes for you. And you can even, you can shape it if you want it to go larger so it has like a bigger bottom like that. You can certainly do that. If you don't like that, you can just take that off, make it thinner. So I've got this long strip. So I'm gonna add that one. Another thing that I have is I love this red and orange. It's kind of like a rice paper, or if you have wrapping paper or wallpaper, any of that works really, really well. So I'm going to tear.
Sarah, we have some talk going on in the chat. I just wanted to share with you. We've got someone saying that Jane suggests that E6000s is a good glue to use that isn't too wet. And also wanted to just share a tip for controlled tearing. You can paint a line on the paper with water on a paintbrush and then tear it that way. Whoa, so we've got some discussions on technique going on in the chat. I just wanted to share with you.
I love this. This is so great. Hi, Jane. It's nice to see you. Not see you, but I know that you're there. That's wonderful. Those are great tips. And using the water, using the kind of glue, this is great to be able to know of other ways that we can create. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep tearing. You know, the thing that when I started this process, I was thinking the final piece was going to be kind of like a quilt, but it ended up being a little bit more like a landscape, which is fine, which actually quilts in a way are a landscape. I want to show you what we have so far. So far, and I don't have these in any particular locations yet, and that's actually kind of the fun part is well, do I want to have this black and white one on top? Let's see, I'll hold it up like this. There we go. So the beautiful thing is after you tear a little bit, you can just spend time moving things around and see if you want one on top of the other, or maybe you want to bring this one over here. It's kind of like a puzzle. And I find that probably the most exciting part of the creating, the tearing part, but also the moving it around, because it turns into something different when you move it to different locations. So the different contrasts. So what are other things, did anyone answer or respond to what inspires you? The passing down, somebody said gardening. What else for anybody out there? What inspires you? Let you think about that. I found a green one. I'm gonna go for the green one. I'm gonna go ahead and tear. What a sound that makes. This one I'm gonna go thinner. So this one, how it has a neat little edge here. I'm gonna bring the computer down just a little bit so you can see. And I think I'm liking that on top of the green. And sometimes if you're not quite sure where to start and which one to put down first, I'll tell you a little trick. I usually take one that pops out at me that I want to put in the middle. And I start with the middle. So I'm going to put all of these on the side. Here I've got my base. And over here I've got a paper bag. And I use that for a space to put my object down and then put the glue on top, so I'm not putting that on my desk. So I'm dipping my brush into my glue. I don't need it really thick, just a little bit. And I'm just going to brush the glue on top. You don't need, just a light covering. And another trick that you can do is just put the glue on the middle part. I'll show you here on just the middle part, just in case you want to put any underneath the edges after you put it down, or you can just put it over the whole thing. So I'm going to put this one right in the middle of my piece. And even though I covered this whole one with glue, I'm just going to press down the center of it because I'm thinking I might want to have another piece tucked in on either side. There we go. Now, which one to do next is always the question. And I'll say there is no right or wrong, and I would probably do it different if I were to do it again. And I think that's what the beautiful thing is there's different ways you can do this each time. But I think what's calling to me is this orange red. And I'm thinking I'm going to start on this side and just kind of tuck it in here. So I'm going to put it on its back side here because I want this one to go on top here. So I'm going to flip it over and put it on my paper bag and brush. And again, if you are getting inspired by just looking at the patterns and tearing, which I can spend a long time doing, that's a very fun process. Don't worry about gluing right now. You can just enjoy moving the pieces around and tearing the pieces. It's all about the color and the textile. So it's a little bit like a puzzle. And my pieces come off the edge. I'll show you. And I don't mind that. It actually kind of extends the quilt. And I'll say, allow yourself or allow the piece to guide you. Sometimes we want to have it all go a particular way. And I think that that's a good thing when we have a vision or a goal for the final piece to be in a particular way. But it's nice when the artwork guides you. And what I mean by that is, you know, I wasn't quite sure where to put this one or this piece, but when I brought it next to here, I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to move it up. I'm going to move it down. Maybe I'll move it over here. And it's kind of leading me to where it would look best or where I think it should go. So there's that.
Sarah, we've got Jane letting you know that she is inspired by nature and color, responding to your question about inspiration.
Excellent. Yeah, color for sure. Nature, and you know, even in wintertime in Minnesota, the sun is beautiful when it hits the snow, and then we've got the sunshine coming out. I think there's beauty all around us, even in negative whatever degrees. So thank you very much. I'm looking at my materials here. So this is kind of where we're at. And I've got the blue. I also have some, this is from my old dictionary here, which that one might look good next to the red. I feel like it needs a little bit of black and white. And if you could see this paper, it has this beautiful edge that almost looks like a mountain, almost like a landscape. You know, Jane, you were talking about environments and nature. And you can almost create your own nature background, right? What we've got so far. And I didn't even put glue on this one. It kind of just tucks behind there. But this could almost be like a mountain, almost like a sunset or sunrise. Do you know, like in the evenings when we see the sun setting and that warm sun that's like bright red or bright orange, and you can't believe that it's actually that color. It really brings that warmth in. And so when we've got the yellow on the side and the black and white, so we're building our piece. So we may not totally finish today, which is fine. The goal is to really be able to show you the process of creating these different layers. I'm going to show you these two that I have. And sometimes, let me show you these two layers. Sometimes when I'm trying to decide how they should go next to each other, I could certainly put them next to each other like this, but also it's like a puzzle. It kind of seems it wants to fit in that little spot right there. Or maybe there. Or maybe switch them around. And maybe this goes on top. See how it changes different? It's like the art piece or the environment changes. So just to spend time playing around with the objects that you've created. Now, on my finished piece that I did the other night, you can see the different layers that I have. And I wanted to show you some of these three-dimensional objects. I'm going to actually put it this way so you can see it. Well, see, my cardboard is kind of buckled, but that's okay. It becomes a three-dimensional piece. The mesh that my fruit came in, I just used a stapler on the side and then a plastic bag on this side. So think outside the box of what you have around. Let me show you this. So here's the mesh that I was using. Now you can't really tear the mesh. So this one you would need scissors. But if you don't have scissors and the mesh is just available like this, you know, something you can try to do is just twist it like that and see how it lays down. And let's put it next to our piece that we have here. Like that. It gives it a little bit of an extra layer. You know, something else you can do is you can have it open up and not twist. And look at what that does there. It gives like a whole nother layer. So we're kind of building a sculpture. And see how, and I'm gonna take my stapler. I think I'm gonna go for this. Sometimes, I will always say that we are courageous creators. That all of us who are creating, which that means when we get up in the morning, when we do our everyday things, we are creating something new, and we are courageous at doing that. So today, you take that courageous step and you build something. And whatever brings joy. So think outside the box. It's a very freeing feeling when you can just try different things. If you've ever done a writing exercise and you write without editing, if some of you have ever done that, this is kind of similar where you create without editing. And you just tear and see what happens. And so I've got that stapled on, kind of like a bridge. I do want to show you one more inspiration that I brought today too, since we've been talking about inspiration. I love to organize fruit. And probably because the colors are so magnificent. So I did bring my fruit today to show you that even organizing fruit is an art form. Sometimes everyday objects can really bring inspiration to life. So I'm wondering how this project is feeling for people. If it's bringing inspiration to you, bringing ideas to you. I think I'm going to tuck this blue-green one on the top. You can kind of see it tucking in there. Now here's more of a magazine person. I think has some beautiful colors and reflections, so I think I'll tear that one. See that white edge. And see how it kind of goes this way. Gosh, you could do a whole landscape just using this one piece. I also have tissue paper, which you could use. Good. Well, I think I'm going to kind of close up our time as we're coming closer to the end of our time. But I hope that this was a little bit of inspiration that I could bring from my home to yours. And this is fun to just get our hands in on the materials. Again, the focus today was color and tactile, the sensory. We got to smell flowers, we got to experiment with the mesh, the tearing of newspaper or magazine or wallpaper or different kinds of paper, and creating a quilt or a landscape. And this is just such an honor, and that we got to spend this time together. And you can always go back to this video to look at new ways of creating. So are there any other questions or thoughts? I think we had a good introduction to the different kinds of materials. So
well, thank you, Sarah. Yeah, it looks like we don't have any more discussion going on in the chat. So I just want to thank everybody for being here today. And like Sarah said, this video will be up on the YouTube page, so you can go back to it anytime you want. And Sarah will be back next month with another project.
Yeah. Great.
Great.
Thank you, everyone. It's nice to see you.